Folks, I'd like to call everyone, our panelists now. Thank you, folks. First things first, we do have two more folks here in the panel who haven't presented. Milind, who's from Mercedes-Benz, Principal AI Scientist. He's very kind enough to join us. He's been an AI evangelist for a very long time, and it'll be very interesting to hear his thoughts. We also have Colin Koh with us. He's a Senior Business Development Manager from LKH Precicon. He comes with an enormous amount of experience, very well known in Singapore, has been in a lot of channel news and others as well. So welcome them both as well. Let me ask starting with a question for Chai. How expensive are your AI solutions? Or rather, let me say it this way. Clients generally worry that they're going through an AI project and it costs a lot. But are they able to measure it properly? How do they measure this? What is the metrics they will use? Because this is a whole new world where we don't have the value of knowing from project management perspective what's to be expected, what's the value that's going to come out, so forth. So really value your thoughts there, Chai.
Thanks for giving me the first question. I still want to address the first question about how much the AI costs. It can cost from nothing if you are doing it in-house. And there are times when you need help. That's where you need to pay for consulting money, right? So for us, of course, there is that kind of a benchmark where we will be invited, into the organization, anything from $300,000 to $1 million. The question will be always, what is the business value or the return on an investment? Right? And of course, the number of investment also depending on the technology stack and the readiness of the so-called infrastructure in your own company. If you already have set up, digitalized all your knowledge, you already have the information system, everything tip-top, then you're just tapping into it and build models, right? But usually this is not the case. Therefore, all of us here need to work very hard to advance the AI. What was the second question, by the way?
No, I think the question is this only, and really from your experience perspective, how are you seeing the value come out so far?
Right, the value can be anything from disaster to very good. I gave you two examples which was very good, right? First is on the closed loop autonomous AI. Then that itself, it's saving 40% of the steam cost. You multiply by 365 days, that could be like hundreds of thousands or even just for one loop. And the bigger value can be when you rolling it or scale it to enterprise level. My second example is of a mining company, right? Monitoring the health of close to 3,000 control assets. Imagine you invest 3,000 control loops, the PID, just take it all PID, right? You have one sensor, one control valve. The hardware-wise is already how much, right? But being able to make sure that they perform, close the loop, just 1% improvement, right? Across all the 3,000 loops. I think it's a kind of a big number. I couldn't review the number. I mean, you can do the calculation. So it's all depending on the use case. Of course, start modular, start small, because you need to gain the confidence. This is what I want to say.
Thank you very much. I'll take the next question with Milind, who's been an evangelist for AI for a long time and also has a lot of experience within his organization on promoting AI. So Milind, from someone who is an AI scientist trying to work out how the organization takes up AI, what has been your journey in AI and what are some of the lessons learned you can share with others, both for vendors and for clients who are trying to embark on this journey?
That is a very open-ended question. Yeah, and we only have 15 minutes left. What has been my journey? So I got excited about AI around 2017, 2018. I mean, was interested before that, then shifted my career to AI, simply because I genuinely see that this is the technology that is going to change how we do a lot of things. This doesn't mean that the stack that we have built up will all change. It means that how there are fundamental things will change, value will migrate to other parts. We still live in buildings made of bricks, yes, and we still eat food, yeah, from a value migration point. I'm saying that once something new comes, the things below that don't always disappear. They change, they are there. Value changes. So this was my motivation. This has been my journey. And one of the things from my experience that I'd like to share is people, and my goal for this change was simply because coming from business leadership perspective, I thought that this is important to understand that if it is going to change how we do business, we must understand the technology, yeah? Before we can take the right decisions to implement the changes, design the right solutions. And business leadership, in my experience, has been really reluctant to catch up. And this is, there are two aspects to this. So I've heard, at least by some people called, AI called dog and pony show quite often. On the other extreme end, I have seen people extremely scared. Yeah. On somewhere in the middle, people are excited about trying to learn about this thing, especially from a management perspective. They say, I started doing this course. Either it's really high level or they start teaching them linear regression. Don't really know, but this is useless for business decision-making perspective. What do you need to understand about this technology? And my journey for the last 5-6 years has been on how to combine technical knowledge and the world of possibilities from the technical side with the business decision-making parts. What is required to be understood, why this technology is different, how this technology is different. And this is why Vikram was calling me evangelist, because this has been a large part of my role for the last 4 or 5 years.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Milind.
Vikram,
Thank you
mind if I jump in?
Yeah,
Just to add something, because I think Milind touched on something that it's a theme we've heard a lot today, and I'm happy that we've heard it, and it's the concept that AI for the sake of AI doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think you said some people are scared, some people are. I found the same in the sense of there's the group that ask about it because they know they're supposed to ask about it. They feel behind, or they feel like they don't have an answer and they like help with an answer. But then there's the group that says, I think we need something and we want our vendors to help us with it, but at the end of the day, it's about this work order and how do we do that better. It's about, it's about some sort of work process. And so I'm glad to hear that a lot today from a lot of the speakers. And I just wanted to point that out because I heard Milind say it, and I've heard it all day. So.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. Actually, you may also expand on something that was very interesting. You said something was very close to your heart, was the predictive part of things, the art of possible. If you had all the time and you want to talk about predictive part with your clients, what is it that you'd like to tell them is possible in, say, the next 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah. And I'd go one step beyond predictive and touch on prescriptive as well. And the difference there is for us, it's if I'll use a very simple example in the world of asset management. So we always talk about pumps and maintaining pumps, and being able to ask a Gen AI tool how many work orders were opened for pump 101 in the last 18 months. That's a helpful question, but being able to ask it based on failure history in the last 18 months for pump 101, can you recommend a future maintenance plan that we should consider, and actually have a more dynamically designed? It doesn't mean it implements it, it doesn't mean it's final, but now what's the difference between those two questions? One is a rear view mirror hindsight, let's basically pull a report out through a question, which is helpful. But then the next one actually gets into, how can I use the tool to start? It's that AI advanced engineer that we talked about. It starts to get into analysis that it would take us a little bit longer to do, and then when we have it, now it's our starting point. Now we can decide how we use it. So I see those kind of examples being transformative in the years to come. That's something we're shooting to do by next year. And I think, you talk 2 years out, it's going to be more of that for more use cases within the existing data set. And then I think it's also going to be similar types of technologies within the system itself that allows us to manage spare part inventory better, or it helps us to schedule people in an even more optimized way. So I think it's going to be those kind of force multiplication and those kind of prescriptive examples that are going to really be transformative.
That's very interesting. I'll take the next one with Michael. Michael, you had a very, very interesting journey so far, and it was very good of you to show all the experience and how you've been through all that. If you would like to tell us, where was it not smooth? Because in the presentations we see everything's moving smoothly, but I'm sure from an organization perspective, who is trying to champion the cause, who's working with lots of engineers with lots of different mindsets, both from AI perspective and this journey. Is there anything you'd like to share on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Vikram. In my role as an OT cybersecurity engineer, we have a lot of legacy thinking to deal with, right? It's a very old industry. We've moved from pneumatics to 420 milliamp, and now we're looking into AI and things like that. So there's been a lot of rapid growth in technology, and then all of a sudden we have, like AI and the collision between IT and OT. So really changing the mindsets of the engineers, right, to embrace the possibilities of what AI can offer, right, or whatever the cloud can offer you, to eke out those additional missed opportunities, right? If you don't harness it, that was one of the challenges that we had to face. There's still a lot of legacy thinking that we have to keep our systems in silo. Let's not touch IT. And then in my line of work, there's all just bright ideas about industrial IoT, getting the IT to talk to OT and things like that. And for me, yeah, you have to be a little bit open. It's definitely a paradigm shift. But if you don't jump on the bandwagon, then you're really going to miss out. Because coming from the oil and gas industry, our margins are thinning. It's increasingly challenging the environment, right? So we really have to embrace AI as much as possible. And I think the visionary leadership of Petronas has seen that. And we are embracing, as you've seen in the presentation, AI wholesale.
No, thank you. Thank you, Michael. I'll take the next one with Colin, who's the man on the ground. He has enormous experience in Singapore with the SME industry, as well as being a champion of OT cybersecurity also in the region. Colin, from your perspective, we've heard everything and more here. What is the message you would like to give to both the vendors and some of your personal reflections, because you're really front and center in manufacturing in Singapore, trying to embrace AI in this environment where cybersecurity is also an issue. Any thoughts on both the items, SME and cybersecurity for Singapore?
Yeah, okay, thank you for the question. I think through my last 30, 40 years engaging with the manufacturing ecosystems, I would say that go to basic, right? I think people, process, technologies, right? You really need to train your people, whether it's cybersecurity, AI, or whatever technologies. They must have minimum training, right? So from there, then the next step is you look at a process. Somebody mentioned about lean manufacturing. So lean manufacturing has been around for the last 30, 40 years. Maybe some of you have forgotten about what's lean. Can always go back. Lean was actually developed by Japan, right? So Toyota systems. So in fact, if you are able to go to Toyota factory to understand their lean, they can tell you everything about lean. But when you come back, it's still the people and culture. If you can't train your people to have a lean culture, you can't do it. Then the last one is the technology. So for instance, you have the good people able to ensure that you have a lean processes, makes no waste, and there's no extra processes in the systems. Then you look at the technologies, right? So I think that the sequence should be people, process, technologies. Then of course, how to ensure that all these are being taken care of. Of course, you have to use some kind of maturity assessment to assess them, right? So for example, AI assessment, what kind of level are you in? Well, level 1 to 5. Same thing at the cybersecurity. Let's say you're using, let's say maybe the so-called the 62443, right? What level are you in? So from there, you know there is a gap. So when you see the gap, then you see, okay, what tools can I use? So AI now becomes additional tools. AI actually is not new, right? I think for process engineers, we've been using PID, advanced PID. We have auto-tune. In 1990, I think we are still talking about fuzzy logics. So all these are traditional AI. So of course now you have the generative AI, agent AI, agentic AI, and AGI, whatever you come along. So all these are tools. So you have to ensure that. Another way is, as a businessman, you look at your P&L. You have your top line, you have bottom line, you have a cost. When you look at all this data, then you know that. Then you work on the industry benchmark. Are you behind or ahead? If those ahead, I think you're okay. Behind, then you look at is the tools like AI and all these new technology can help you to improve that gap. So I think basically these are the few things that I would say that after interact with some of these, I have a chance to talk to, for instance, the consultants, the system integrator, machine maker, and some of these so-called ecosystem partner. So I try to understand in terms of how the whole ecosystem can work, and of course the supply side and demand side have to match in that sense, yeah.
Thank you very much, Colin. Folks, I'll open for questions. Any questions from the audience? I think we have a question right here. I'll get. Hang on.
Maybe you can hear from
We can throw it to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you. So it's very interesting to listen to, I think, Kaming and Michael talking about, actually applying, putting in your application, right, the AI. As Michael mentioned, right, it's quite scary, right, when you try to have the IT from the cloud, after whatever, learn parameters and then try to input into a control loop, for instance. So my question then is, firstly, is it explainable, right? One of the challenge in AI is that if we try to predict the stock market and then we buy and we make money, that's fine, right? That's one thing. But today, if we are marking a paper, right? Someone write an essay and they give you a score. And then you said, you will ask your professor, why am I getting an A? Maybe you won't ask, but why am I getting a B or a D? And you can't explain. Sorry, the AI says so, right? So explainability is my question. Are we able to explain if something goes wrong, right? And secondly is that when you say you train data on like 20, 30 years of data, we know that a process plant is not static, control system are not static. It changes over time. Your most recent data is probably the better data as opposed to the older data. So, but when, LLM and so on, learn data, it's a huge set. It may not know, but it could know, so maybe you can give some insight. Is there like weightage and so on? Thank you.
Great question. And I'll admit that I wasn't part of building that AI model. I was more on the cybersecurity aspect of things. But I think I could take that question later, point you to the right direction. But I think the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, we saw the results. The results show that it's good and it's bringing benefit to the organization. So that's a win for us. But if you'd like to talk about the details, we could take it separately. Yeah.
So what I want to share is that we work with Petronas a lot. We have a lot of challenges, even to convince.
Not that bad, lah. No, we're nice people.
Petronas is a very
You're talking about Michael
company,
specifically now?
So because it's dealing with the critical process, so there's a lot of guide rail governance around implementing AI. But really, there's something I did not share. So-called the explainability is very important. And how we achieve that is that we actually build a simulator. Like for example, we are working on this particular process, so we will build a software model to represent the process, and that we merge it with historical data. Then we will run the model. So actually, we do a lot of offline work before we put it to online. Even when it comes to online, there's actually a middle step where we are just so-called doing a simulation with the real-time data and trying to evaluate, observe whether the AI is making the right move. That is in addition to the safety guide rail. I think in Michael's slide they mentioned about there is a data check, limit check, a velocity check of the data. So there's a lot of things that the engineer can think of to make sure that nothing will go wrong. Still, we can run the AI in a safe and reliable manner. So yeah, there's a lot of devil in the details.
Maybe just one follow-up question, right? I noticed that you say you save steam like 40%, lots of energy and all that, right? I'll be worried as a process engineer who is the designer or the control systems engineer. All this while, what are you doing, right? Suddenly we have APC, right? Advanced Process Control, and many software companies, right? Aspen Tech and whoever, Honeywell, SideSpec, and so on and so forth. Now, what are they doing then if suddenly we can squeeze so much out of using an AI, right? Yeah. So, I mean,
that's a very good question.
Yeah, I'm just throwing a spanner in the works, but I think it's a good point to discuss.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. If let's say there's something with the process, right, and you can always modify the process, cut the pipe, modify the pipe, enlarge the pipe, and put in a new compressor, replace the boiler. But in that case, it's because decided that it is not worth they don't have the window to stop the production to make the modification. Whereas they find that using an AI methodology is able to elevate the load of the operator and able to so-called save. But of course, once the so-called the fruit is reaped, then that is a new baseline. And so I think usually we say, well, the baseline was so bad and now you got 40%, but once the new baseline become the base, yeah, then the challenge will be even higher. Maybe the next round of optimization, if you can get 1.5%, you are lucky. So I think that's a fair answer.
Thanks a lot, Shai. Folks,
I would
other
have
questions?
one more follow-up to Michael on the cyber side of things. Because if I understood correctly, you were basically implementing a lot of validation to really see whether the commands were sort of in range or not, right? And when you did your risk assessment, was it more because you were afraid that AI is deciding wrongly, or is it because that adversaries might be injecting wrong commands?
Yeah, we looked at multiple scenarios, actually. Yeah, it could be garbage input. It could be an adversary trying to get into the system. So we did multiple scenarios in our risk assessment to assess it from different angles. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
And the conclusion was that there's a higher risk that somebody is injecting something or that AI is deciding incorrectly?
It was more of someone injecting rubbish values at the cloud level to sort of corrupt the data that goes down to the DCS. So that was the one that we were more concerned about. Because I mentioned before, we actually put in all those data safeguards at the APC level and also the DCS level. So if the data gets corrupted, then they will get rejected by the APC and the DCS. So it was more about someone corrupting at the cloud level.
Thank you.
Folks, other questions? There's a question from there.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Putu from Exxon. This question is specifically to Michael.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Popular guy today. Thank you. No. Help me out. Yeah.
Okay, so to implement the project that you did, right, you did a risk assessment and test also. Even after that, you didn't eliminate 100% of the risk, correct? How did you convince the management to accept that residual risk and approve the project?
Great question. Cybersecurity is a game of risk. And with risk, you cannot eliminate it 100%. There will always be some element of risk, and you may or may not be blindsided by it. But to the best of our ability, we got the best brains in the company to sit down and trash out all the issues, do that proper risk assessment. We arrived at a tolerable risk level, and that allowed the project to go ahead. We cannot guarantee 100% safe environment. You just can't. But we do the best we can to secure the environment to the best of our ability. That's just as good as we can go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, there's still the LOPA. Don't forget the LOPA, always there, right? There's a physical protection, there's a process control, there's a SLS protection, and finally, the AI is actually working within that boundary. But still, we didn't want the AI to cause any disturbance. So therefore, the additional layer of protection. So this is how we make the AI rather safe.
So the worst case scenario, if the AI engine gets corrupted, you just lose on that little bit of optimization that you get, but the DCS will still run. Safety system is still there. Your PSV, mechanical valves, unhackable, right? They will still work.
I'll just take this question to Milind also. Milind, you've been working on these things as well from your company perspective and doing a lot of this. What about your projects? I know we couldn't do showcase of yours, but have you come across this as well, these issues?
Issues like
the ones Michael mentioned and the question that's been asked on the project, on the risk piece.
Sure. The answer, this is exactly what we do. Yeah? We know in risk, if you want to make risk zero, just shut off the system and risk is zero. Yeah, no need to worry about it at all. But if you have an operating process, plant, machine, there is always some risk. And all the different, and we handle risk at different levels. Yeah, and we ensure that at certain point of time, it will either cut off or it will be, a human will be called in or the whole thing will be shut down. Yeah? So we control risk based on the maximum fallout we are willing to accept. And there are multiple layers of risk control. So, and one other thing that I would like to highlight from my side, risk is not zero when humans are in charge. Yeah? So our baseline is, are we reducing risk below the human level or above the human level? The competition baseline of AI is always human. It is not mathematical perfection. Yes? This is the story of all of industrial revolution, all of technology advancements. And whenever we find that the technology can do a better job than a human, we replace the human with the technology. This is why we have such prosperity as compared to where we were 500, 600 years back. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I do have time for one more question, folks. Anybody else? I think there's a question there from...
So I have a question for Michael. Well, it was a question.
I have a flight to catch. Yeah, please go ahead.
So the project that you shared, you mentioned used about like 3.4 billion of data points. So how did you drive and accelerate the data liberalization effort? What was the challenges that you faced and how did you overcome that?
Again, I was more on the cyber part, but the AI part was handled by the data scientists. So we can exchange information. I could get back to you on that question. Thank you.
All right. I'll just put that same question to the others also. Tom, I know you've been working on some projects in the region as well. Anything you want to tell about the complexity you come across from your platforms and how you're dealing with that?
Yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of it. I do think I touched on it in my presentation as well, just data and the complexity of data. And the explainability question, I think, is a really good one. And that is why the lineage of the data and understanding not only the logic of AI or machine learning, whatever form you're using, the underlying data has to be sound as well. And I guess, I mean, just beyond the technology, it's the people, it's the human factor as well. It's the do you have the right sponsorship? Do you have the right players involved? Do you have the right budgets? Do you have all of those typical factors, which I think are AI related, but they're really any technology related as well.
Thanks a lot. Colin, any final words from you from the SME management perspective?
Yeah, okay. I think for SME, the AI and cybersecurity really is a big task for them. I think the SME have a lot of problem now because of resource, talents, and also maturity of technology. So because I'm sitting in the Standard Council, so we are trying to look at whole spectrum, especially the SME are supposed to play a role of supporting the NMC. So we also try to see how can they level up in terms of these two areas, for instance, the cybersecurity. So what we do is, instead of ask them to go and try to understand the IC 62443, is really a very, very difficult task for them. So what we do, we will come out a workshop, so-called agreement paper in 2021. What we do is we are putting a very simple checklist for them to look at both the IT, which is 27001, together with ICs 62443, but we actually scale down into a very light versions for them to do audit themselves, right? So the paper can be bought from our standard council, but Singapore, $30. So this is one thing we do for SME. So another area is also the this cybersecurity, right? So another area is also the AI. So in a way that I think AI, in a way that I think we work with, for instance, AI Singapore, to come out some certain checklist for SME, and also we work with also a lot of government agency to give a lot of skill future courses, right? To ensure that they are able to understand AI. So you know that, for instance, there are a lot of these actually toolkits are available to them. So I give example, for instance, recently I just rolled out so-called internal AI tools. So I'm not so sure. Anybody use Google Workspace? Nobody? Okay. So I think there's a tool inside the Google Workspace called Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is, to me, is one of the platform that almost equivalent to the RAG systems, you know, the retrieval augmented generation. The reason is whatever document you throw in is actually your data, right? So we allow our staff to ask questions. So all the answer come out actually is true and trusted. Rather than, if you don't give them this tool, they will go to ChatGPT free versions. You will link out all the data, all the customer informations. So I think these are a few things that we can do for SME, yeah.
Thanks a lot. On that note, folks, I'd like to end this panel discussion. A big round of applause for all of them. And they're all available during the tea time to talk with you. So now it's time for tea, and we'll just take a break. So thank you, folks. Thank you, all of you. Really appreciate this.